Welcome everyone to Total War Pharaoh Early Access. In this series of videos, we'll be going over all of the new units Pharaoh is bringing, broken down by both the regional native units recruitable by all factions provided they own territory in that area, and the faction units unique to the individual playable factions in-game. To make things easy to locate, all native unit regions will have their own video and will be sorted into a playlist, and all faction units will be grouped by their overall cultural alignment: Egyptian, Canaanite, and Hittite. Will also have their own playlist once the second video for each is uploaded. If there are any changes made to the overall stats and abilities, I will do my best to add those in a pinned comment in this video, that way it's easy to compare what exactly is different. This episode will be covering the mass conscripted armies of Lower Egypt, which you'll be able to recruit from any of these provinces once the native recruitment building is up. He will be the general that starts smack dab in the middle of these lands, and his armies will also consist of massed levy fighters. These are not going to be well-trained or even well-armed warriors, as near all are forced conscripts, given hand-me-down armor and weapons, and formed into loose ranks. Numbers and swarm tactics are going to be your friends with Lower Egypt. Let's get right to the weaknesses first, and these might be a bit more apparent than others. Starting with their low armor, and this is going to be the same across all of Egypt, but it is still worth mentioning that your levy troops will have very light protection, maxing out at 80 armor at the highest tier, making them less sturdy in the face of focused missile fire or prolonged combat. Lower Egyptian units are also going to be less adept at fighting, with lower melee stats and leadership than others of the same tier, and many are also going to come with the weak vigor trait, which makes them lose stamina much faster than normal. No real source of armor-piercing damage or bonus versus shields means you are fully reliant on your chariot options, pulling from your chosen faction roster for any real source of sustained damage on armored targets. Now, while all these things might sound utterly terrible on paper, a lot of these issues are balanced out by the fact that all Lower Egyptian regiments will hold higher overall troop counts per unit. 160 per infantry unit on Ultra, and 120 per missile deployment, with even their first light chariots holding 36 models, meaning your battle style is going to be overwhelming your foes in a sea of blades and a rainstorm of arrows. Having the extra models for infantry is awesome, but the additional 30 archers or slingers per unit is where things get really crazy. You definitely won't be boasting crazy range or the sheer awesomeness of the archers from Nubia or Kush, but you'll be capable of some deceptively devastating volleys that will make short work of enemy missiles, or lightly armored foes due to the increased volume of fire. Slings of Lower Egypt make fielding archers against you a near impossible task in the early stages of your campaign, as you can comfortably start every low armored missile duel with an extra 30 lads. Another surprise in terms of deadliness is the Egyptian light chariots. With 36 models, all armed with a fairly decent bow, these are incredibly speedy skirmish chariots that are amazing at harassing enemy unit lines, and even getting solid chip damage in on other chariots, as their 115 speed allows them to outrun all but the most elite companion chariots of the Pharaoh. With only 30 armor though, you'll want to keep them well away from return fire and melee fights, as you'll lose those chariots very quickly. Lastly, in terms of actual benefits to Lower Egypt's roster, all of your light tier infantry is going to be immune to the sweltering weather and desert attrition. You won't have to worry too much about losing your expendable chaff in droves while out traveling the dunes. Lower Egypt is very much the swarm roster, looking to blitz your enemies quickly and aggressively with overwhelming numbers. They lack damage options versus any moderately armored opponents, and will really struggle if the enemy manages to weather that initial charge and force them into a prolonged engagement. Early game, you're going to want to try to use your numbers to surround and wear down more elite armies. In the late game, they are best used as cheap fodder to hold a more expensive unit, while your damage dealers from other sources crack some skulls. But that's all for this episode. Let me know what you thought about Lower Egypt in the comments. How would you best utilize the conscripted hordes? And where does this faction stack up compared to others? I'll let the units and their stat cards roll on through, but that's all for me. I've been Space Wizard Total War. Remember to leave a like for the light god and a sub for the sub zone. See you on the next one.